Welcome back to the Pick 199 podcast, episode 57. I'm here with Muzzy.
Hey.
Snako.
Up.
And Coxie.
Hey, boys.
How we doing, boys? We're back into it. Got another week of the NFL to wrap up. Let's get straight into it. We had the Titans 28 over the LA Rams 16.
And the Titans look good this year.
Did any of us get on it this year?
No, because I gave him a brag at the end of last season, and they went to shit after it. So I've stayed very quiet.
I think you said they were shit at the start of this year too, mate. And
I
then
did.
gone on a seven-game winning streak.
I just can't pick the Titans.
Even at 7-2.
Yeah, no, and both teams are now 7-2 after that result too. So good win for Tennessee.
Absolutely. Rams are red hot as well. I don't think it can be understated, that win against the Rams.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like knowing how good the Rams have been the last 8 weeks, with only a couple of faults, and like this week being one of them, or being outplayed by a better team. But
especially
that Titans defense is unbelievable. Yeah. 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Which one of those interceptions led to a touchdown? Unbelievable. They played awesome, so it's going to be very, very interesting. I think, it's going to be super interesting run towards the end of the season.
There has been, and we'll get to it, but there's been a few upsets this round. So,
I think now we're sort of starting to see the table settle a little bit.
Yeah.
Get the start. It's all over the shop. You got teams there that shouldn't be there, and teams that are just undefeated so far.
This
I think everyone's starting to level.
This is the time when everyone's sort of starting to knuckle down for their playoff run. So
and they're hard wins because you're trying not to get too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah,
and you're also trying to make sure you win these games now. So but you've also sort of, especially teams like the Titans and the Rams, they've got one eye on the playoffs, really.
Well, we're already at halfway through the season, and it feels like we only just started. Yeah. As Coxie said, I think the tables are starting to level out. It'd be interesting to see where most of the teams are placed, sort of halfway through the season.
No, that's it. Moving on, we had the Arizona Cardinals winning 31 points to 17 over the San Francisco 49ers. Who's going to stop the Arizona Cardinals at the minute?
It's going to be
Green
tough.
Bay did, didn't they?
Pardon?
Yeah, but they bounced back hard.
Green Bay did.
Green Bay with Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think they probably puts a line through Green Bay, to tell you the truth. But
Puts the line through Green Bay.
Yeah, with what's going on with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
for sure.
And they we'll see, but they also lost today. So there's to the Chiefs who've been god awful.
They only beat the Giants by 3 last week. So
it's gonna be an interesting couple of weeks. Look, I mean, it's tough for all those teams, like Tampa Bay in the same situation. Obviously not the same situation, but at aging quarterback as well as, his whole status, Andrew Rodgers' status. But I don't know.
Obviously not all the NFL players have to be vaccinated then? If Aaron Rodgers
it's state to state, I think, still.
Yeah.
So it's still like commission, just like in the NBA.
Yeah.
You don't, Coxie. I think the biggest issue with the Aaron Rodgers thing is that he was telling everyone he was vaccinated.
Yeah.
So if you actually look at Carson Wentz, who also isn't vaccinated, he does interviews with a mask on. He's on the sideline with a mask on. He's doing all of that. Aaron Rodgers did none of it. Told everyone he was. Now it comes out that he's tested positive, and he hasn't been following the protocol set in place for the players that
I think that's
vaccinated. So that's the issue.
You think that's him just trying to be bigger than the club, just focusing on what he wants and then not.
Trying to be bigger than the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I think he's been around that long that I don't think he really paid attention to it. He probably didn't care, to be honest. If we're being honest, he probably literally looked at all of that and just went, who cares? No one's going to find out. No one's going to know. Sort of thing. So just keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
So, but it's I think it's towards the end of his career. He still cares about winning and stuff. You can see it in the way he plays, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's whether he goes out like this or like that, it's not going to really affect him. I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's been a while that he hasn't been too invested with the Packers either.
That's right. Yeah.
I think ever since I think you could probably pinpoint the turning point to when they drafted a quarterback that time in the draft.
They drafted Kevin Love.
Yeah, and you could just tell Aaron just sort of seemed like he thought, oh, fuck you. The organization, like they're going to go out and draft a quarterback with their first pick, like in the first round, instead of drafting me a wide receiver. Like, So I don't know. I think ever since then he's just thought about leaving, and I think he's just not too invested with Green Bay. I think he's reminded of that. And like I know, as Muzzy said, I do think he likes to win, but at the same time, I just don't think he's too invested if Green Bay are winning as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love how we're talking about the Cardinals versus San Fran, and we've spent 5 minutes on bloody Aaron Rodgers.
No, you brought him up. You derailed it. Said I'm putting a line through Packers. Here we are. Come on, Roscoe, keep us in check, mate.
Anyway, Cardinals top of the pack at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say good.
Great win by Kyler Murray.
Cardinals and 49ers still looking like garbage. So.
Oh, they're just stuck in that limbo.
Yeah. No, very good. Moving on. Oh, look at this. We had the Kansas City Chiefs.
Roscoe, I've got nothing more to say about the Packers, mate. You should have told us to hold off.
Well, if I had known that, I would have done it. Yeah, good win for. I don't think there's much else to say.
I think this is a dangerous win for the Chiefs in terms of if they win string a couple more together, then next year all of a sudden, oh no, we're still a decent team. We don't need to do anything. While we've seen throughout the first 9 games that there's probably a lot of changes that need to be made.
Yeah,
and I think if they somehow manage to scrape through even a positive record, all of a sudden it's going to be, oh, no, they'll be right next year. And it's just another Band-Aid that they're packing on there.
So, Muzzy, do you think the Chiefs are just getting way too complacent this season?
I think so. Yeah. I think they're just relying on their talent. Like we said, 4 weeks ago, most of those boys got paid.
Yeah.
And they're towards the end of that. Like, normally they say the NFL runs in 3-year cycles, where you're sort of going to get the best of the best will stay at the best for 3 years or so. Obviously, there's, anomalies like Tom Brady and stuff like that. But for most players that aren't quarterbacks, etc., you're looking at their best years being, and I don't think they've reloaded that well. They've sort of just rested on what they've got, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're still, one of the best teams in the NFL.
We've got the best quarterback.
That's it.
Yeah, 100%.
He's struggled too as well, so.
Could they, if they get a wild card spot wherever they finish.
Yeah.
Could they could make a play still?
I think so, but I don't see them going super deep.
Yeah.
I think the experience would probably carry them, but then at the same time, like that experience is going to carry them to a certain point. I don't think that'll carry them past that point, like to a Super Bowl or something like that. But I definitely agree with saying I think they'll if they do make that wild, like obviously it's going to be tough now, like 4 losses already, and they've got a fairly hard schedule coming towards the back end.
Yeah.
But who knows? Stranger things have happened. So, like I said, they could definitely. They could upset some good teams.
Well, how many games did they lose last year, apart from the Super Bowl? 1?
I thought it was like 4.
Yeah, something like that. No,
I don't think they lost many at all. They could just be like, let's just get there. They've rested on their morals a little bit, and just when they get close to the end, they just go nuts. So I don't think they will. I'm a bit like you, Mark. I think they could upset people. I think it's limited.
Yeah.
But whatever you've got, Pat Mahomes, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
But like comparing the NFL to the NBA, where they play those like huge seasons, 72, 82 games. Like teams in the NBA can afford just to coast for the first 20.
Yeah.
But I think with the NFL, where they play less than 20 games, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
18
18.
this year.
17.
18.
Yeah.
I think every win counts, and like I just don't think you can be complacent. And the Chiefs, I think, are a little bit too complacent. You know, they did get the win against the Packers, but I just think, as Muzzy said, it could lead them down a dangerous path where they're going to be even more complacent in the following weeks.
Well, they didn't
I
do it
think
very
but it also
comfortably,
depends
and they did it without Aaron Rodgers. So
it also depends what division you're in too. So
Yeah, that's true. They could still
Philadelphia-
make it, and they're woeful.
Well, we might just have a look at the divisions after.
Yeah.
But the biggest concern for me is if this is the Chiefs that they are currently at this stage, who they are, it will be very, very tough to rebuild in the next 2 to 3 years if you keep investing money and keep investing, like trading picks away, doing all that stuff to try and bolster that squad and try and keep them as contenders. It's going to make the blow up even harder, because the longer that you mask that, the harder it is for them to rebuild, rather than if they started now and took their picks.
100%.
And I think on the dark side of that, that's sort of what's happening at Atlanta at the minute too. So trying to cover pieces and not being able to do it properly. So, no, very good. Moving on, we had the Los Angeles Chargers beating the Philadelphia Eagles 27-24. Good win in the end for the Chargers. A much needed win, and Philadelphia continue to struggle a little bit.
One highlight, the Aussie, is it Jordan? I can't pronounce his name. Malauer, some beast.
Leader.
Yeah, he's just killing it. He had a few players who just absolutely dominated a few blokes. So, but apart from him, Fletcher Cox has come out and said that he's not going anywhere, which is a really good sign, because he's probably he's our best player by a mile. But if we lose him, you've got nothing to build around. So at least defensively, we keep him. And as far as the Eagles go, we're having a lot of these games where we score enough points and they score 3 more. Like, I think if you went through our results, we've been thrashed once, I think. But apart from that, they've been relatively tight. It's just we score a lot of points, we just get beat a lot. So,
Is this the turning point for the Chargers? They started the season well. They look decent.
I hope so. Like, in terms of like how well they started, like you would hope that like a sort of lesser known Los Angeles team can go on with, like, be able to go on with that. But yeah, it's almost too early to tell as well. Like, it could very much change so quickly next week. Like, they could get thrashed next week and look dog shit again. So it's just they're one of those teams that are in a similar sort of vein to the Chiefs at the minute, like where they can win games, but they also don't look like they're gonna dominate anyone properly. Like, so. But anyway, moving on, we had the New York Giants getting a win over the Las Vegas Raiders. I was about to say Oakland Raiders. 33 points to 16. Coxie, you must be happy to get a win back, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed emotions, boys, to be honest. Honestly thought we were going out to get the first round number 1 pick. And all of a sudden we start getting a few wins. Look, I don't know. Our attack isn't the greatest. I think Danny Jones only sort of threw for 100 yards on the 110 yards, I think, out of 15.
Yeah.
So, but look, I mean, our rush game was pretty good, and I think our defense really, unlike the Philadelphia Eagles, they really sort of stepped up. I think Xavier McKinney got a pick. We got 2 picks, but he ran one in for a touchdown, which was great. So, look, it's good to get a few wins, but I don't think we're going to be doing too much this season, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
Well, saying that, but Coxie, you'll probably finish second in the division, so.
Could be a wild card place, you reckon?
First, who knows?
Like, between us, I don't know. We've got to get to Washington, but gosh, he's a bludger of a competition.
We did lose to Washington though, so I don't know.
Washington had the bye this week too, so
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Ah,
Moving on, we had the Miami Dolphins getting a 17 points to 9 win over the Houston Texans. I'm fairly sure we can just about put a red line through the Texans, but also I don't think this did anything for Miami in any sort of way either. Like, it was just one of those games where a bit of a dead rubber, because I don't think we'll be seeing either of these teams in the playoffs. So,
Well, you don't think the Texans can come back from a 1-8 record?
I mean, they would have to win. They would have to win every game to sort of to be a chance.
Considering they've just traded away how many pieces, so
yeah, they'd have to win the next 9 in a row, and even then,
doesn't look like at this stage that the quarterback swap is going through.
no.
It looks at this stage that it's sort of come to a stalemate where teams can't agree on what each quarterback's worth.
I think it's a real shame because I think it works out really well for both franchises.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, for Tua probably means that he gets at least another season with the Dolphins. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
I'd love to see him at the Texans.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean,
yeah.
Either way, I think at this stage, the Texans are probably thinking, we're pretty close to getting that first pick. So, and now
The way they're going at the minute, they'd be up there.
And I think they've got some decent picks at this stage as well. With their trading.
They got a bit for JJ Watt, didn't they? So.
Yeah. I think a second or a third round.
Yeah. The next game's the shocker.
Well, with that, we'll move on. Hey, Snaker.
Yeah.
We had the Bills losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars 9 points to 6. Did it I'm really glad no one put money on this because you would have put a lot on the Bills to get the win here.
Imagine the unders. Imagine the under betting for neither team to score 10.
Yeah. But then again, knowing how good how good the Bills have been, you would have been like, that's a stupid bet.
40.
It's one of those games where if you did it on a whim, it'd be like one of the best stories ever. But again, you'd be pretty nuts to do it in the first place.
Look, I didn't see this game. I only seen the result earlier. And I kind of think I want to watch a highlight because it would not shock me if it was monsoon rain and bloody 4 foot of snow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
unfortunately for the Bills, it was not.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't see nothing, but I was like, something crazy's happened.
Yeah.
As Snako and Roscoe, are pretty big on the Bills and their progression, obviously, through Joe Allen and stuff. How do you think this season plays out for them now? Do you think this game represents the mark for the end, or is it just a bump in the road?
It can go either way. It can go either way because this could be the kick in the arse that they might need to go, well, we're not as good as we think we are. And we need to pick up that intensity. But then again, it could also go the other way. All the wheels could just fall off, and whatever we've seen in the last 2 seasons of NFL could just go out the window. Like you said, that sort of 3-year window.
Yeah.
It could be the start of the end. So,
what do you think, Roscoe? Though, which way do you think it's going to go?
I'm hoping that it goes. This is the kick in the ass that they sort of need to sort of spur themselves on. I think they're a talented enough team to be able to do that. But look, it's going to be one of those things whether or not it goes the right way or not. But I'm really hoping that they can be the Bills that we saw last year that made a deep playoff run. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I think it's a bump in the road. I'm still pretty firm on the Bills, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It's a shock. I'd like to have like I said, didn't watch any of it because I was like, there's no point. I reckon the Bills probably had a few plays out. It'd be interesting to see the roster, but I think the Bills will be fine.
Yeah.
Very good. Moving on, we had the Browns getting the big win, 41 points to 16 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Baker Mayfield with the second most quarterback wins in his first 4 seasons in Browns history. So pretty good performance by them to get that win out. And of course, the news came out this week that Odell Beckham Jr. has been released by the Browns.
Which I do have a question for you boys. So at the start of the season, they got offers for Odell Beckham Jr. To trade him off, possibly for some picks and stuff, like later on picks. And then they decided to hold it on. Do you think at that time that was a good decision for them?
Yeah, at the time it was.
Yeah,
because you look at the numbers Baker's putting out himself, he needs someone to throw to.
Yeah.
If that combination connects, well, they put 41 on a Bengals team that's won 5 games. That the Bengals aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year, but they've been competitive. So they put 41 on them without Odell Beckham. If he's firing, he's the kind of thing that can take them to the next level. So I understand them want to make that try and work, but unless you know the interior of what's actually going on, like if they knew there was no way he was seeing out the season, of course you would have let him go. But if they thought that there was a chance to hold on to him, man, I'd be holding on to him.
Yeah.
Well, both him and Baker have had trouble in the past, though, too, in terms of how they connected on the field. And, like, I think Odell's been hampered a little bit with some injuries here and there, like niggling ones that sort of, like 2-week blocks here and there that have just kept him out of the season. But yeah, I might go the opposite way to you there, Snaker, because I think if they sort of had an idea that it wasn't going to work out, or like going off the last couple of years where he's had those niggling injuries, I would have been thinking about trading him off to get some proper weapons for Baker to throw to as well. So if you can get
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, if you do like the Moneyball theory where you can get like maybe a couple of players for the same amount of output that Odell's putting out, that might be.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think the Browns probably did make the right decision, because the way that they have his contract set up, it's a lot of it is based on bonuses and sign-on bonuses and stuff. So they won't actually take that much of a salary hit. They still will. It's still going to be a large proportion, but obviously in the spectrum, they're getting a lot back for that. But at the same time, they really didn't get anything for him, if that makes sense. It's a real tough area. I understand what Sako's saying, like it was worth seeing if they could get anything out of him, if they could get that tip to him. But at the same time, if they did have that sneaking suspicion, it might have been a good idea to pull the trigger and at least get something for him, and then you clear that whole salary cap from him completely. So
what's the latest? He's walked out from the Browns, or they've just released him?
No, they released him.
They released him. So I think there was like other players were like protesting as well to sort of help get him out of there. But I think it just sort of, by the end of it, Browns were like, yeah, you can go. Like,
they basically just said like it was the perfect opportunity to get rid of him. They knew they weren't going to get much, because obviously he hasn't been playing. They weren't going to get much for him in the next offseason. So they just said, yeah, we'll just release him, and then he can sign on to another championship contender, basically. And then they can take his salary.
Where do you boys think he goes then?
Back to the Giants, mate.
Nah, mate, we're all right. We're all right without him. There's been talks that he might be going to Packers. But other than that, where do you boys think he should go? If you were Odell, where would you go?
If I was Odell, I'd go to Vegas. Imagine how much fun he could have.
Well, I think he wanted to go to
you
LA.
also have to think
That's
whether
the
or not
area anyway when he left New York.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes to a West Coast team.
I think he'll go somewhere fun. I'm thinking Vegas or LA.
I was about to say LA Rams might be a good fit for him.
I think in terms of his career, if he really wanted to look at it in terms of that way, I wouldn't say anything wrong going to the Bills. It would really help their offensive threat. And I think he goes there and helps them win a couple games, and the fans love him straight away.
I think the other place where he could fit in pretty well too is Dallas. I think Dallas could use a wide receiver like him.
Yeah. Everyone could use a wide receiver like him.
Yeah, well,
you're 100% right, Roscoe. You're 100% right.
Yeah. Very good. Well, let's move on. We had the Ravens knuckling out a 3-point win over the Vikings, 34 points to 31. 12 straight games for Baltimore against NFC opponents, and it's the longest active streak at a minute too. So good win for them. Vikings haven't been too bad too, so it's probably an important win for Baltimore as well to sort of see where they're at.
I think of all the teams that are 3 and 5, the Vikings have probably looked the best of them consistently. But
and I
the
think
Ravens have been good. They went on a streak last year and pointed them out at the start of this year. Have been a threat and someone that teams need to keep an eye on. So
I think the Vikings are sort of like, even when they have, like, they've sort of been flying under the radar with how, like, the wins that they've been getting though too. Like, they've been losing to tough opponents. It's not like it's them versus Jacksonville or something, like, or even like the Dolphins or something. Like, it's they've been hard fought wins against decent sides and losses as well.
100%.
Not very good. Moving on, we had the Patriots getting 24 points to 6 win over the Panthers. Is that pretty much done for the Panthers this year, you reckon?
Yeah,
probably. It's probably done for both these teams, to be honest.
Either of them are going to do anything.
I don't. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Tough ride home for both of them. I think they're both probably going to sort of finish middle of the pack. Patriots might get a wild card spot, but yeah, apart from that, I don't see much happening with those teams.
Yeah, they might get it, but it'd be a waste of a spot.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very good. Moving on, we had the Broncos with a 30 points to 16 win over the Cowboys. I don't think this scoreline indicated how much the Cowboys were being dominated. I think Dak had his worst game in this game. I think it was like 5 of 17 for the first half.
Jeez.
In terms of passing. So he had an absolute shocker in terms of how they played. But yeah, good win for the Broncos too. So
like, he's got that in him. The thing about the Cowboys, but they can beat you 1 or 2 ways. So like, if they can't beat you through the air and he's having an off day, then they try and beat you on the ground. So no, great result for the Broncos.
Yeah. Falcons 27 points, 25 win over the New Orleans Saints. I mean, I'll take the win any way we can get it at the minute, and against a division rival, I'll take that as well. So, still a lot of work to be done for the Falcons, but I mean, they're about where I thought they'd be too. So,
I didn't think they'd be that good.
Nah. Well, Young Ho-Koo, the Korean superstar, got the winning field goal as time expired too. So, good win. Moving on, we had the Indianapolis Colts 45 over the New York Jets 30. Bit of a nuffy game, but pretty exciting, like, just in terms of the amount of points scored.
Yeah.
A great game for a casual fan to watch.
Oh, it'd be exciting.
End-to-end football, gotta love it. And the final game of the round that's yet to be played, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers to play the Chicago Bears. Who is your tip, boys?
I'm going to go Bears.
Coxie?
I don't know. Hard to go with history there. They got a little stat. I might go, what are you going, Roscoe?
You know what? I might go Chicago Bears too.
I'll go Steelers.
Muzzy?
No, I'm going Steelers. Going.
I just thought you might do a snake and just not follow your team for a month.
No.
I never followed my team.
Coming from the bloke that never tips the Dragons to win a game.
Exactly.
Well, would you?
Yeah, no.
Yes.
I'll rest my case. And with that, we might wrap up actually, we'll have a look at the standings for the divisions. I do apologise. And
we'll just skip ours, Coxie.
Yeah. So AFC East, we've got the Buffalo Bills up top. AFC North, Baltimore Ravens up top. That's a pretty competitive division too. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see who gets the wild card spot out of that division.
All 4 of those teams could really upset people at the end of the season.
Like they could all, yeah,
Baltimore have been really good. Like,
absolutely. Tennessee leading the AFC South and pretty convincingly too. I think they're pretty much safe
they'll take that out
until the pick 199 curse gets them. AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers leading the way as well. And moving across to the NFC, we've got the Dallas Cowboys well ahead in their division. Who's going to get the wild card spot there, boys?
Oh, Philly got it in the bag. Please.
Mate, at least the Giants can play defense.
Oh. Look, let's be honest. It'll be Washington. So I'm not saying
probably.
They'll both break your hearts.
Yeah.
NFC North, we have the Green Bay Packers leading the way, and pretty convincingly they'll be pretty safe, I think.
Depending on the Rodgers situation.
Even then, I think they'll be.
Minnesota could upset, like, go on a run.
They could. You're not wrong. I would just think that Green Bay.
I don't know if it'll be that good, but I'm just saying.
I don't think Rodgers will be out for that long, though, will he?
Well, he's got COVID.
But whether or not they sort of go.
Depends on how sick he gets.
Yeah, that is true. NFC South, Tampa Bay leading the way with New Orleans Saints just behind them. And finally, the NFC West, Arizona Cardinals clear away ahead, and Los Angeles Rams not far behind, but Los Angeles it could go either way for that wild card spot too. So that's just about a wrap up of the divisions for the NFL. And with that, that closes out episode 57 of the Pick 199 podcast. Thanks for sticking around.
Thank you.
Next time.
Yeah.